All right. Finally, the last two, or four, if you will, are just sort of ways of thinking about what kind of world we're going to end up with. And none of these are predictive, and they're not rocket science. In fact, it's not even brain surgery. They're metaphors. Now, metaphors matter. Metaphors matter. Okay? Metaphors, the way we define things, the meanings we have stuff, it has implications. You know, as I told you before, a couple times I've even mentioned, I won't try not to keep bringing it up, but it mattered when Steve and Bill went in the garage and turned line code into mouses and desktops and trash cans. That GUI interface really mattered. And it really was just a metaphor. It's just a different way of thinking about how you do these things, right? Yeah, okay, then they put some algorithms in that sort of give it a visual look, and then it's a little bit easier. But really, it's just a different way of thinking about it. Okay, so they make a difference. Now, that's not to say that, you know, when we pick one of these, this is the way it's going to turn out. But they do sort of give you a way to think about what we might end up with and what you'd like to end up with and what would be good and what would be bad. So the first one is this a village or is this a marketplace? McLuhan proposed the global village, so it's the first place you kind of pick up a metaphor from, right? The father of cyberspace, if you will, in some ways, even though he didn't have as much to do with computers as he did with television or electricity in general. But this notion that we're all connected, so it becomes a kind of village. You know? We all have access to information about each other that we didn't before. And that's true. Maybe there are lots and lots of examples over the last couple of years of places where there's an uprising or there's a flood, something going on, and we probably wouldn't have heard about it at all. Would have made a little tiny, you know, A3 or A4 item in a newspaper, you know, a little heading, a little tiny paragraph that no one would have read. So there's an uprising in Myanmar about something, right? And now it appears on CNN, a bunch of people click on it, and a whole bunch of folks who really don't much care, at least find out about it. Okay? And if the video is dramatic enough, it goes viral. Quite literally, hundreds of thousands of people click on it, okay, and are affected by it. So there's this sort of village kind of feel to it. We're interconnected. We're interdependent to a degree. We can work from home. We can work at work. There's this notion that we know a lot about more people. The term veneer here means that sort of laminate that's at the top. It's not the wood that's underneath. It's that very top level. It's kind of thin, but it covers the whole thing. All right? So we know a little bit about a lot. Not a lot deeply about much of anything, culturally speaking. Okay? Part of that is the way that television has changed. You know, we're not almost sitting around the TV fires together anymore, watching the same show. So we don't have that same experience over whatever the cultural phenomenon is. Instead, we're clicking on it on YouTube, looking at it for 30 seconds, and then going on to something else. Kind of a thin cultural, but it's sort of a village. When McLuhan said about the global villages, we would know an awful lot about everybody, not much about anybody else. But the one thing that he was stressing is that we couldn't claim ignorance anymore. Or we couldn't isolate ourselves because we didn't know anything about them. We couldn't say they didn't matter in South America or Africa or Asia because, one time I go there is on vacation. We get a lot of information about them. So we can't say it doesn't matter because you kind of know it does. Right? But that, of course, doesn't mean we like them or understand them very well and that we won't fight with them. Okay? Well, that's altogether different than a marketplace metaphor. What this whole thing is about is economics, folks. The purpose of this whole thing is just to churn money. And it's a better way to do industries. You get access to markets you didn't have access to before. Right? It's a global environment now. This has really nothing to do with getting along with anybody, but we have access to market to them. And really what I use it for is essentially economics. Okay? To make money. And it's just a better way to make money. I can lower my costs. I don't have to have American workers answering my service phones anymore. I can send that work to Singapore, and those guys will work for peanuts. Okay? Some of it is actually playing out, right? I can cut out the middleman. Who needs record stores? In fact, I don't need any recording executives anymore. Hey, send the guys in the studio, I'll record it, I can do it in the stuff I have in my basement, distribute it globally through, who needs them? All the record stores closed. Who needs the newspapers? We got all these bloggers. Okay. But in the doing of that, somebody's making a lot of money. And other people aren't. It's a marketplace. I can shop better. I can get services now that I would have to go out for before. Right? So, in that environment, we share a public information structure. We share this internet thing. So you can't say it's just segmented. Everybody's got access to it. Okay? And we get access to widely available resources, and I can scale them to my own needs. I don't have to watch those 13 television channels. I can pick the 4 that I want. Okay? And it makes me very independent. Who needs you people? In fact, here we go. This is going to be an online asynchronous class over the summer. I'm not going to have to, you're not going to have to put up with me. I'm not going to have to put up with you. Put it online. You go get it whenever you want. Totally independent of each other, essentially. And we don't need this interaction stuff. Pretty good illustration. Right? Do I get your tuition money? I don't have to show up every day. All I got to do is monitor the exams when you take them. Grade the papers. I'm done. Who needs this? So if it's a marketplace, it's got a different implication than a village. Okay? What we were worried about with new media and education is it would turn into a marketplace too fast. We were worried that you guys would come here as juniors. Why the hell would you pay any money for Bradley freshman and sophomore year when you could just buy it on the internet? And so we get two years less, of your tuition, and that would be bad for us. It hasn't turned out that way, although it's not a done deal yet. It's not yet an altogether done deal. We still haven't played this out all the way through. Or another way of looking at it is to talk about, we just turned the phrase urban and urbane, and again, it's not too fancy. By urban, I mean those people who live in the city, and by urbane, I mean those people who are of the elite culture. Sort of a way of turning a phrase to tune up the ear for just a second. So, as villagers, as urban villagers, we all participate with each other. It's one of the things you love about a city. You go to a big city if you love big cities. Now, you may not like big cities, so you may not be able to relate to this, but if you love big cities, you go to big cities and there's all these people. It's like, there's this vibrancy of being with all of these people, doing this. The reason you can do all this stuff is because there's all these people here. The reason you can't do anything in Peoria is there's nobody here. You can't support the economy, right? You can't have a real university district because all you people go home 3 months out of the year, and there's only 4,000 or 5,000 of you anyway. It's just not enough to support more than a couple of pizza places and a bar and a coffee shop. You can't have a real you go to a university with 56,000 students. You got this university district that just thrives because these people are there spending money, but doing stuff. So is that what we're going to use the internet for? We're going to use the internet to get everybody going on this vibrant kind of electronic economy and community where everybody's connected and everybody's doing stuff together. Plausible. Possible. Could happen. I mean, that's the way it could go. Or, essentially, we're going to use these resources to kind of isolate ourselves from everybody, which is the other way it could go. I mean, we're not very... I just turned on, you guys, I've told you I subscribe to sports. So I've got MLB.com TV, right? So I can get all the Angel games. And so last night I hit the HD button, because this year I have broadband. Last year I didn't, so this year I can actually get the HD broadcast. So I hit the HD button last night, and the thing reloaded, so it went like this, and then the picture was, holy! Now if I had I actually have the big screen, but I don't have the projector. But I mean, if I had a great big screen, I mean, it's a cool picture. And I can watch any game except the White Sox, the Cubs, and the Cardinals because they're local. All year long. Now, you know, and you're reading every day. 3D TV. Go buy a 3D TV. It's right now. I just read an article this morning. I think CNN.com, you can go look at it. A test run of the Masters in 3D. And the CNN article says, you got to see this demo. You just got to see this demo. When you see a putt coming across the green at you, heading for that hole, it's just, you can see it undulate. It's just amazing. You got to see this demo. Now let's, you know, take that out just a little. Take that out 5 years. Take it out 6 years. What kind of crap can I have in my basement? I mean, quite literally. I mean, I can go to Anaheim Stadium and sit and watch those boogers play, and it's just about as good as being there. You know, why would I want to go out and go? What's the point? I don't. You know, if I gotta go, the guy next to me hasn't bathed in 3 days. The guy on the other side's drinking way more beer than I can. The guy behind me's, you know, talking to his girlfriend. I wish he'd just shut up. I don't really care about those two guys. And, you know, and I can't really see past the guy. Why would I even buy a ticket? So pretty soon, the only guys who buy tickets are the guys who can't afford that setup I have in my basement. But I'm way better than that. Is that the kind of culture that we're going to develop with this over time? Because if I'm a provider, as we talked about the last time, if I'm a provider, I know which one I'm going for. I know which one I'm going to provide services to. I know which one I'm going to develop my software for. I know who I'm going to market to. And that's not a village.